All right, imagine this. You come home after a regular Thursday tired, maybe a little annoyed at the world, and you see a letter on your kitchen table stamped certified. You open it, read 2 lines, and your heart just drops. That letter didn't just ruin my day, it felt like a death sentence. 350 grand in HOA fines. For a Texas ranch, I'd just inherited a place I hadn't even laid eyes on yet. And stapled on top, there's this little note from the HOA president oozing with attitude, pay now, or we'll foreclose and sue you bankrupt. Like really Karen energy at maximum. But here's the thing. What this woman, Vivian Blackstone, president of Lakeview Estates, lover of power suits, and probably, I don't know the sound of her own voice, what she didn't know was the punchline. Because see, I didn't just inherit Great Uncle Ezra's 300-acre ranch on Lake Buchanan. I inherited the dirt underneath her entire gated neighborhood. The houses, the pools, those perfect lawns, every square foot was technically mine. Picture me boots buried in Texas dust sun, slicing across the lake, that venomous letter in hand. Already thinking, lady, you just picked the wrong fight. Let me put it this way. If an HOA Karen ever tried to shake you down for $350K and you found out you owned the ground her McMansion stands on, what would you do? Be honest. Because what I did, well, let's just say things got wild. And for everyone who's ever tangled with a nightmare, HOA, this one's for you. Drop your own horror stories below. I promise I read every single one. 3 months ago, I was just Fletcher Morrison. Divorced. 42. Petroleum engineer living in a shoebox apartment in Denver, wondering how my life managed to skid off the rails. Then the phone rings, some lawyer down in Austin talking about an inheritance from a great uncle I barely remembered. Suddenly, I'm in a law office that smells like old books and older money, staring at a stack of documents so thick they could stop a bullet. Your uncle was particular about records, the lawyer says, sliding paperwork across a battered oak desk. And when I flip through those pages, my brain just short circuits. 4,300 acres. Lakefront. Full mile of shoreline. Water rights. Mineral rights. Oh, and by the way, $2 million a year in oil and gas leases. All sitting an hour outside Austin where tech money rubs elbows with old oil money. Now, Texas property law, it's a jungle. You can own the surface but not the minerals under it, or vice versa. Always check both, especially around oil fields, or you'll end up owning the grass but not the gold. One complication, the lawyer says, tapping a yellow highlighted page, adjacent development with a very active HOA. Yeah, understatement of the year. So my first morning at the ranch, I'm up on a limestone ridge, breathing in the sharp tang of crude oil mixed with mesquite smoke. Pumping jacks beat out a steady rhythm in the distance, thump, thump, thump. It's basically the heartbeat of Texas. That's when the cavalry arrives. Vivian Blackstone, sharp as a rattlesnake in a white suit, rolls up in a Mercedes G-Wagon. She's flanked by 2 guys in tactical gear. Like, I'm not kidding, these dudes look like they wrestle cattle for breakfast. You must be the new owner, she says, voice all honey and venom. Vivian Blackstone, president of Lakeview Estates. She gestures grandly behind her 500 luxury homes worth $80 million, all lined up like dominoes. Unfortunately, we have significant environmental and safety concerns. She hands me a folder so thick it could bench press a Buick. Federal compliance violations and emergency remediation requirements. 47 pages. Every one of them a trumped-up complaint about my cattle, my barn, my supposed environmental contamination. Bottom line, $350,000 in fines, plus $5,000 a day until I clean up my hazardous operations. It was blackmail dressed up in legalese. I tell her as much straight to her face. Her smile could have frozen diesel. Lakeview Estates represents $80 million in federally protected investment. We will not allow dangerous operations to threaten our families. Her bodyguard steps in so close I can practically taste his cologne. You've got 72 hours to comply, she says, like she's sentencing me to death. As her convoy disappeared, I realized this wasn't just HOA bullying. These people were playing dirty, and they had connections. Within 2 days, federal court papers hit my mailbox. Emergency Environmental Protection Action filed in Austin. They weren't just suing me. They were trying to shut down my entire ranch, claiming I was a threat to interstate water systems. But here's where the plot thickens. In the county records, I discovered Clark Blackstone, Vivian's husband, owned the construction company that built Lakeview Estates. Over 5 years, Clark's company pocketed $15 million in HOA-funded contracts, pool houses, tennis courts, the works, all rubber-stamped by Vivian's own board. No permits, no real inspections. Oh, and her $3 million mansion, industrial-grade foundations, electrical systems, even a helicopter pad disguised as landscaping. Zero compliance with the very rules she was using to bleed me dry. Time for some payback. I hire Rebecca Sterling, a Dallas attorney who specializes in taking down crooked HOAs. She's practically giddy. They've been self-dealing. It's a classic breach of fiduciary duty. And then buried in the HOA's own covenants, a quiet enjoyment clause banning excessive noise before 8 a.m. So every morning at 7:59, I fire up the cattle operations. Bells clanging, cattle lowing, echoing for miles, all perfectly legal. Vivian is furious. Fines escalate, federal complaints fly. She even tries to scare off my oil company with threats of lawsuits. But she makes a mistake, she brags. At the country club at HOA meetings to anyone who'll listen. How she's going to crush me. Word gets around. Miguel Santos, my ranch foreman, has been in the area longer than the roads. He starts getting anonymous tips, photos, records, evidence of foundation cracks, fake invoices, millions funneled through shell companies. The whole HOA is a racket, and the residents are paying for it. Then the feds show up. EPA investigators spend hours testing water and soil. Results clean. But the damage to my reputation is done. Contracts start drying up, money's hemorrhaging. Meanwhile, Vivian hosts a community emergency summit, terrifying residents with fake charts, cooked-up contamination reports, photos of my ranch covered in scary red circles. And then plot twist. Marcus Rodriguez, a retired federal inspector, stands up during Q&A. I've reviewed the EPA reports. Water quality exceeds standards. Where are you getting your contamination data? Vivian's mask cracks for a split second. Residents start whispering. Miguel's nephew Carlos comes forward. He worked construction on Vivian's house. Shows me photos of industrial electrical systems, steel I-beams, a basement built for chemical storage, and a helipad used at night bringing in locked cases. My engineering gut tells me this isn't a home. It's a command center for something way shadier. Vivian ramps up the attacks. Suddenly, my oil pumps are sabotaged, clean cuts on electrical lines, tire tracks leading back to Clark's yard. Then comes the character assassination rumors about my mental health, ex-bosses getting calls about my instability. But I've seen this pattern before. When people invest this much in destroying you, it's because they're hiding bigger crimes. Clark's company starts filing false insurance claims, blaming me for cracks in foundations that existed long before I showed up. Rebecca's legal team slaps them with federal fraud charges. Vivian getting desperate orders a $7,000 emergency assessment from each homeowner supposedly for legal fees. Residents finally revolt, demanding financial records, threatening to vote her out. Then Miguel finds 3 dead steers, poisoned chemicals in their water. The construction solvents match those used by Clark's company. Vivian tries to frame me for environmental disaster, but the EPA tests prove otherwise. The evidence all points back at her. She tries to hold a community vote to force the HOA to buy my ranch for $50 million. Only 43 families show up. The rest, they're terrified of her. With nowhere left to run, Clark files bankruptcy to freeze the lawsuits and protect his assets. But Ellen, our forensic accountant, traces $4.8 million in transfers to offshore accounts just days before the filing. That's bankruptcy fraud, and the FBI is now in the game. Vivian's last Hail Mary. She files for me to be declared mentally unfit, hoping the judge, her husband's old law partner, will take control of my ranch. But then karma makes her entrance. Tom Bradley, an investigative reporter, drops a bombshell expose. Photos, recordings, financial trails, the whole ugly truth goes viral. News vans swarm the ranch. The judge recuses himself. Vivian's allies abandon ship. And that's when we go nuclear. I walk into the Lakeview Estates Community Center, 800 people packed inside, TV cameras rolling. I lay it out, federal documents showing the whole neighborhood is on land conditionally leased from my ranch. Any attempt to restrict my operations, they lose everything. But I don't want to evict 500 families. I want to save them. I show them the forensic audit, millions stolen insurance, never purchased foundations crumbling. The final move, I turn the water valve. Pressure drops, faucets dry up. The room falls silent. This is who controls your water, I say. This is who protects your homes. After 90 seconds, I turn it back on. The message is clear. Vivian and Clark are escorted out by the FBI. Residents erupt in applause. Within days, the HOA elects new leadership, honest people, transparency, real flood insurance. The Fed sees every penny Clark tried to hide. Their mansion is auctioned, the funds paying for repairs across the neighborhood. And me, I found something in Texas I never had in Denver, a reason to stay. Running the ranch, helping rebuild a community. Rebecca and I, well, sometimes fighting evil brings people together. The land is protected now for good. Scholarships for kids, environmental standards higher than ever, and a trust to make sure no one like Vivian ever gets power again. You know what I learned? The land doesn't just pick its owner, it picks its protector. That was Uncle Ezra's real legacy. He didn't just leave me acres or oil wells, he left me a fight worth having and a community worth saving. So now I'm asking you, where's the line between justice and revenge? When do you fight, and when do you forgive? Drop your stories below. Let's talk about what real community means and how to keep it safe no matter who's in charge. And hey, if you've got your own battle scars from HOA nightmares or tales of karma catching up with the powerful, tell me. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just winning, it's making sure nobody else ever gets hurt the same way again.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.